Hello indie game fans, another bunch of new indie game trailers to check out, with another promising lot on Kickstarter looking for funding, with action-adventure, monster taming, factory building, management, life sim and more, so hop on in and check this out. Chrono Sword is a time-travelling Souls-like action-adventure game which I've long had my eye on, and is finally on Kickstarter and comes to us from a South Korean developer. You know me, a fan of pixel art, so of course it's high on my list, with challenging combat and a non-linear world to explore. There's about 2/3 of its target to go with plenty of time, but it's my personal pick on this list for sure. I got a press release for Amber Chronicles of Lhür, where the developers state that they want to bring RTS games back, and having seen many people try to do it, all I can say is Godspeed and all the best.
Amber is a modern RTS with unique and innovative mechanics. Create your base and manage your buildings. Collect resources and create your army.
This is a Warcraft 3 style RTS game with base building, resource gathering, hero characters and such, with 8 announced factions including humans, undead, demons, nature, and human variants such as outlaws who live in the forest or the children of the glacier.
Evolve your commanders and troops to develop different strategies.
To be honest, the graphics do look a little dated, but I suppose it is the new retro, since the original Warcraft 3 is already 18 years old at this point.
The world of Lhür is alive and full of amazing creatures.
About 60% funded with time, this certainly seems targeted at fans of the genre.
Discover all the stories of the world of Lhür.
We are just out of Spooky Month, but Hidden Deep is of interest. This is a sci-fi, thriller, or horror game, but as a side-scrolling platformer, where a crew is sent below the ocean floor to search for some researchers whose last contact was 681 days ago. This is inspired by The Thing, Alien and Half-Life, and from the trailer, manages to create a very tense atmosphere which I do appreciate. On top of the horror elements, I'm interested in the gameplay structure, where you appear to be controlling a team of 4 characters or so, perhaps in a similar fashion to The Lost Vikings, with both a story and survival mode being planned. There are fleshy alien monsters, perhaps some sort of mind-controlling parasite, and even zombies or something, so I'm proper freaked out and this looks like it could be great. I'm a fan of monster taming games, and Anitons of course has my attention. This promises an open world experience with what seems to be player housing and even farming elements, with the all-important variety of creatures and combat as well. You can ride your creatures and explore the world, and combat is also in real time, so this has more in common with Kindred Fates than Pokemon. There's something a little bit off about the monsters in this, but I'm happy to see more entries in the space. I've mentioned Dyson's Sphere program before, and it has launched a modest Kickstarter campaign and is a factory building game with an impressive sense of scale. Not only are you building production lines on individual planets, you are doing this across an entire galaxy, unlocking research with the ultimate goal of building a Dyson Sphere which attempts to harness the power of a star. You do also have to build automated defenses, since the universe is not that friendly after all, but certainly one for factorial fans. The original Out There was an interesting genre blending game, primarily a narrative-focused resource management game but as a roguelite, so think FTL but with less direct combat, and the sequel, Oceans of Time, looks to jazz things up graphically with some interesting looking exploration on the surfaces of planets as well. This looks pretty impressive, and I'm curious about this.
In a grayscale dimension named Monochrome, through the lush and abundant fields of Greyshade Valley, past the many modern, winding streets of the quaint, charming, friendly, and all-around pleasant tune-filled village known as Talent Town, down the raging torrents of Monochrome's main mode of transportation and trade, the fickle vintage river, sits the city of entertainment, Vaudeville, where performance is a necessary life skill known by all. Tunes make or break careers in various entertainment districts. Skilled troops might make it to a grand theater, but most will take whatever stage they can, even by force. Factions work behind the scenes to tilt audiences in their favorite performers' favor using illegal giggle gas and jitter juice. Even without these supplements, these illicit venues are hotspots for gathering and watching performances. As such, Vaudeville has made a name for itself as an amazing destination full of comedy and tragedy alike. Automiss Blotz, an otherwise average toon citizen, suffers from a crippling case of stage fright, making them the target of constant bullying. So they left. Otto joined on with Captain Smokestack's crew, and in exchange, Captain Smokestack ferried them away from their problems in the big city to a much smaller and easier to manage Talent Town. Otto found what shelter they could in a manor at the edge of Greyshade Valley, with rude furniture and a roommate who never stops partying. They made the situation work for them, until many years later. A change in leadership leaves Vaudeville in major upheaval. Mayor Lestat says, "Out with the old, in with the new." Meanwhile, rumors of being watched blink across Greyshade Valley. Possessions spring up in Vaudeville, turning supernatural acts into scapegoats. To top it all off, slime and sludge pollute the vintage river, halting all transportation. But first, will Otto be able to make it to work on time?
I'm not sure how other developers feel about this statement, but Cuphead appears to have inspired a whole bunch of games to use the 1920s and 30s rubber-hose animated cartoon as an art style, and the latest to do so is Monochrome RPG Episode 1. This is another game which meshes genres, primarily controlled like a JRPG with overworld exploration and turn-based combat, but combat, in quotes, is where it gets interesting. Playing as a comedian, telling jokes is one way to attack, so perhaps some Undertale inspiration as well. I really like the look of this, although monochrome is tricky to pull off, but another title that I would like to see being made. Developer Sky Devil Palm is known for their vibrant pixels and retro games, with Victory Heat Rally possibly being that very thing that you need right now. While I don't really have a particular affinity for racing games from that era, it certainly looks to capture that spirit very well, and I just love how lush this looks, both with the sprites and character art, and looks like a fantastic arcade racer. Management games are another genre that I'm always keen to check out, but add in dice and you get Silmaris Dice Kingdom. This has a high fantasy setting, so dragons, wyverns and all that, where you're trying to restore a fallen kingdom to its former glory by diplomacy, espionage, trade, war and so on. The use of dice in this seems neat, although my luck with dice is never good, so we'll see what this game does to let you stack the deck, so to speak. And of course, my time at Sandrock gets top billing, since this is a live sim sandbox RPG that is the sequel to the excellent My Time at Portia, and looks like it features many of the same elements like building and upgrading a workshop, rebuilding the town, helping villagers, romancing them, dungeon crawling combat and so on. However, unlike its predecessor, this is set in a rugged mining town of Sandrock as compared to the tropical island of Portia, with various tweaks and enhancements based on lessons from the first game. The most interesting new feature to me is multiplayer support, and if they manage to pull it off, this might just be one of the best in the genre, taking the #1 spot. To see more of the big picture, check out these awesome videos, and I will see you after the jump.